My name is Margaret Palmer, and I'm from the Yakima Nation. And we're here at Lyle Point on this Sunday. And I was up in a ceremony throughout the night, prayer service with the Native American Church, and come out to the point, and they had a wash it service, singing, and a meal, trying to carry on our religious ways. We're here occupying the point because of a developer named Henry Spencer. And in the spring of '93, the developer denied us access to our scaffolds here at the point. There was big trenches and ditches and pipelines, and there's no way we could get through here to our scaffolds. And when it came time to finally see them finish their work, then there was a big steel gate at the entrance of the point, and it said Klickitat Landing, Riverview, rare Riverview site. And so we contacted the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, who is here to take care of the waters and fishing rights of the 4 tribes, the Yakima, Warm Springs, Umatilla, and the Nez Perce. And they came down and took pictures of the scaffolds and of the trenches and documented exactly why we didn't have any access out here to this our fishing scaffolds. And then the next time I heard from them, they had notified a tribal council person. Her name was Joanne Meninick, and she was on the culture committee, and Joanne came over here to the Lyle, to our home, and we told her what was going on, that we were being denied access, and she said, well, you know, the best thing that we should do to protect our treaty rights is occupy the area. And I felt that was a good, strong move, because at that time it was the reality was that we were losing a treaty right here. We put the occupation up in the second week in September, and when we came back out here, our scaffolds were mysteriously gone, 2 of them, and we turned those missing scaffolds into Columbia River Intertribal again, and they came out here and took the report, and I think that's where everything started. The developer himself, he came in and started to ask us questions like, why were we here, and why were we here just now? And we were telling him that we have treaty rights, and we're protected by those treaty rights, and they were reserved for us, and this land is and these rights and these ways that we live on, they were inherited, and that we were here to stay until the issues that were raised here in regards to the treaty issues was resolved. So so they sent out a tribal attorney. He's from the Yakima Nation, and he came out here to look at the land and to look at the roads, and then he went he went as far as talking to Henry Spencer that same day, and Henry Spencer told him he didn't know what our problem was, that we had access to our scaffolds, and what he told him was that day, he says, Mr. Weaver, the attorney, asked him, well, what kind of access are you allowing? And he said, well, I gave the Indians 100 feet in the water. And the easement, as they call it, or the buffer, was not anything that we could realistically even begin to believe that you can go out 100 feet in the water and fish. That's just impossible. And with that statement, then the reality that what he's talking about, in our minds, it was like sanctioning the fact that this man believes he bought treaty rights because 100 feet out in the water, and then he calls the land here where the scaffolds are, he calls it private. Then that tells me that what he feels he has done is bought treaty rights, which are not for sale. Fishing off the scaffolds and the registered sites out here at the point, they're not for sale. And so I asked the developer that, no, his attorney, he sent his attorney in one day to talk, to see what they could do to, as they said, make me happy. And I told the attorney that I wanted to know if somebody sold him a scaffold out here, and he told me no. I said, well, then again, I want to know if somebody sold you a registered fishing spot out here, and he told me no. And I told him, I said, well, that's right, because treaty rights are not for sale. Nobody sold you no treaty rights, so how do you have private land down here when our scaffolds are down here and the sites are registered? And so that was the day that the reality hit hard and strong, that this was definitely, you know, something that could, again, start a new trail, break another treaty, you know, in this generation. Whatever he's trying to do, he's definitely not honoring our treaty. That's what I see. And it was about a month ago now, when we first started occupying Lyle Point, that when we came here, when the Yakima Nation suggested that and recommended that we occupy Lyle Point, they told us that we would be, from that point on, called the Treaty Rights Spiritual and Cultural Gathering, endorsed by the Yakima Nation. So we've been here under that, and then we've had support people that have been here and gathered in the hundreds throughout the week and throughout weekends. They're called the support group of Lyle Point. The people here are harassed constantly that the Klickitat County Police are going to come in and tear up the camps, or bulldozers are coming in, and we're always threatened here at this camp. So I feel that more bodies is something that we need here all the time. And if you can come here and help us support this issue in honoring our treaty, that we'll be out here from now until the issue is resolved.
My name is Warren Spencer. I'm a Columbia River fisherman. One of the main reasons I'm down here to help support this Lyle Point with my sister Margaret is that, you know, I feel that if this development goes in, we're going to be losing a lot of our treaty rights down here along the river. And it's, I know there's a lot of talk that's been going on that they thought this is just an individual area that we're trying to protect, but with my way of thinking and trying to get a lot of the other fishermen down here to realize that this is not just one area that we're protecting our treaty rights along the river here. And if we lose this stand here, it's what's to stop other millionaires and developers coming in and pushing the rest of us fishermen out. And that's one of my main concerns down here. It's kind of, it's kind of hard to, explain to the public about our feelings on this because our feelings are a lot of spiritual feelings down that's inside of us, and this were what we call ourselves the Columbia River people. It's a place that you just can't leave it. You can leave it for a short period of time, but you got to come right back. And this spiritual fire that's been going on, and that it's been going now for over a month. And we heard through different supporters that came up here that there's a fire going down there, a sacred fire in California, that's been burning now for 60 years. And their settlement they haven't been satisfied one way or another. And with my beliefs and everything, what we're trying to do here, if this fire's got to burn for 60 years, I hope that my children will be down here to help continue this spiritual gathering, what we got going. Because our people been taking a step backwards, seems like too many years. And I made that statement in the paper before. We've been, every time a developer or state or federal comes in, they says, well, we're going to need this, could you guys back up a little bit? And I'm just tired of stepping back and letting things go. And it's about time that our people take a firm stand on something, because we just can't continue stepping back. Like this area here, if we take a step back, we're going to go over the cliff, we're going to go in the water. And I don't want to see the river people disappear like this. It's like I say, spiritual, that's deep within inside of the river people, that this is our life and this is our livelihood. We make the salmon, the first salmon that's caught in the springtime, we have a feast on it. We honor it, that this is our first food. And if anybody, asks questions about how the tables are set at our traditional dinners, the salmon is always the first food that's set on the table. And it's a spiritual food to us. And just like my sister, this is her livelihood. She's did this all her life, and it's, it'd be like taking a part of your life away if we lose part of this. It's you can't live just half a life. That's what I'm trying to say. I guess if this gets taken away, that the families will vanish and the foods will vanish off of our tables. And I don't think that a lot of our people could survive without the salmon. And that's one of the main reasons I'm down here, is to help support her on this. And I'm not supporting just Margaret and Douglas on it. I am here to help support all the fishermen. And I wish that I had gotten a word to most of our fishermen to come down here to help support this, because this is a real serious matter. A lot of them don't realize exactly what the outcome of this will be. And that's just my personal feelings. We lose, we're giving up. And like I said in the news media there, I'm tired, I'm older, and I'm just not going to take a step backwards anymore. I planted my feet and I'm going to stay. It's, like I said, it's not for Margaret or Douglas or myself. What I'm doing, I'm looking out for my grandchildren. I'm looking out for their children. What I want to do is, when I pass on to the other world, to find that I have accomplished something for our unborn generations. Like we had a few people come here and they said, well, their land properties would go up and they could sell and move on. But that's not our people's way. We don't see what we can get for ourselves. What we're doing is we're looking out for our unborn generations, and that's one of the main reasons I'm here, to help protect our unborn generations. And when I pass on the other world and find out that my great-great-grandchildren could come down here one day and take a fish from the river, and knowing in their hearts that one of these days they'll say, yep, my great-great-grandpa, he covered this, he got it for us, and he protected it for us. And that's the way I want to pass out into the next world, to know that the unborn generations will look back and say that my great-great-great-aunt, my great-great-grandpa, they did this for us. And if that ever happens, I'll be happy in my heart going to the next world. What I'd like to, let the people know that the media is, a lot of it's saying that we're protesters. We're not really, I don't consider myself a protester. I consider myself a guardian of our treaty rights and a guardian of our next generations to come, because I'm not protesting against something that we have. We already got this. It's ours, and we retain the right to come down here and camp and fish when we feel. So that's why I don't feel that we're protesters. We're guardians of our treaty rights and our religious rights. And as far as letting the people know, the supporters that we've had out here, there's a few times that there was just 3 of us down here, but when we see all these other people come up, it's like myself, I kind of take energy from seeing all these people here. It lifts my spirits up and gives me the feeling that I got a purpose, and I just thrive on the energy. The supporters come, and the more supporters that come, I think the more strength we'll have to not defeat development, but to let the people know that this is our way of life. And there's a lot of people that came down from Portland and Vancouver, in other words, other places, and they didn't realize how our people lived. And anybody that watches this tape, I'd like to welcome to come up, have them come on down, talk to us. We're not savages. we like, I had some kids come down here, they're scared, but we're willing to talk. Come and ask us questions. If I can't answer it, we can find somebody that can answer it, one of our elders or anything. It's just that the more people that are curious, more or less what's going on, come on down and find out. Help support us. Help us protect our rights. And this is, just like I say, we're not going to step back, and the more support we get down here, the more energy we'll draw, and I feel in my heart we're going to win.
Margaret, and Palmer, doing this standoff down here, about 20 odd years, then she asked for help. She called up and asked for help if we'd come down. People from Frank's Landing would come down and help her organize, because she had no, those type of skills. And realizing that, this thing needs to be protected and nobody else was going to do it, and I agree with what she's doing, because she's not just sticking up for this land here for herself and her own personal use. She's actually sticking up for all people to use a scaffold. She's not the only one that has a scaffold down here, and the tribe and them was supposed to have been talking with this Mr. Spencer, and to And they had a clear understanding, that's why he started developing it. And he just took us silence as yes and started his development here. You know, then she kept seeing it, her and her husband Doug kept seeing him developing and putting up a gate and all this, and eventually she came down and said, well, this is it. If the tribe's not going to do it, I'll do it myself. And her and Chief Johnny Jackson started this encampment in September, you know, and they're going to continue until they protect the habitat for the eagles and for the fishermen, because what they're going to try to do, to my way of thinking, is to give her a scaffold and make a little walkway for her to go to and from the water, you know. And I'm totally against that, because if they want to do any ceremonies, these houses back here, they'll be looking at us. You know, Sunday morning, if we want to do some kind of ceremony like we just had, you know, they're not going to close their windows. You know, they're not going to do none of those things for us. They're going to be sitting up there drinking beer, you know, shouting at us and, you know, making fun of us as usual, you know, making us racist remarks. So, you know, that's the main reason I came down to support her, because she's a fishing woman, you know, and she's always have been and part of her culture, you know, and ever since I've known her, you know, and so that's one of the main reasons I did come down here, because I wanted to see her and her kid, and she's protecting this for the future all up and down the river, you know, and she's the only one that has right. The Audubon Society come in to help, but in reality, she's the only one that has a legal claim, because she's got the Treaty of 1855, and Article 3 of that treaty that states we have in lieu fishing and set up permanent. And we're not trying to set up anything permanent. We're forced to set up this stuff. You know, and the tribal council say, well, what's your bottom line? Our bottom line is we really don't want this developed at all. You know, we need to start acquiring our land back, because and when first in the treaty times, there was 150 million acres. Now we're down to 50 million, and we lose 5,000 acres a day across this country. You know, and if she don't stand up for her, and women like her and men like her, you know, that stands up for these rights, you know, and they're going to try to make her look bad, like she's doing it as, you know, Margaret's doing this, she's never doing nothing. She's standing up for her kids. You know, she's standing up for every fisherman on this river. That's why I call her the woman warrior, because she's here. She's here with a bunch of non-Indians, you know, supporters that really believe that's protecting these birds and this Mother Earth and this environment. You know, them are the equivalent, the non-Indian, you know, that's the Indian, you know, coming out of them. You know, them environmentalists, I call them the white Indian. You know, and that's all they are, you know, because they're trying to think and, you know, and they're trying to honor that other half of the treaty. And that's why we want to go out and do a rally, you know, and that's why we approached these various colleges to help us, because we knew the youth, if knew what was happening here, they would be dissatisfied, and they would come down and give her the support she needs, you know, physically, mentally, and financially. And still, financially, she's hurting, because she hasn't got a lawyer. She is standing by herself. She's asking for 4 things, you know. She wants the treaty honored, you know. She wants the development stopped. She wants the eagle nesting, you know. That's what she's asking for, you know. And that's the way I feel, and I feel it to the point that I come down here all the time. I leave my, you know, my family at home to come down and support her, like everybody else here. And I wished I could stay until it was settled. You know, but I have to work. I teach school up in Auburn, so I have to work. But I come down here every weekend like everybody else and give her that type of support, which I can. We try to organize, try to contact lawyers. So I've been involved in it for, you know, a long time. And, you know, to me, I am really dissatisfied, you know, simply because I know damn well I'm getting ripped off. I know Margaret's getting ripped off. Her kids are going to get ripped off, and her kids' kids. And if we don't stand up and stop this development along this river now, there will be no scaffoldings, because this is just a first. And it really made these millionaires wrong that this little short woman, Indian woman, stood up and stopped a $33 million project.
My name is Chief Johnny Jackson. I'm one of the 4 Columbia River chiefs. I'm the Cascade Klickitat chief. And what I'm doing here is stopping development from taking place on the sacred land and a fishing site that has been here for generations. It's been a Klickitat fishery, the Klickitat people have owned this land before the white people came to this part of the country, before Lewis and Clark even came here, and before the railroad came in here. This used to be a campsite and a village site where the people caught and dried and cured their fish. Also, they traded. It was a trading place. And today, we're confronted with a $1 million development where a man once said he has paid over $1 million for it, wants to make $4 million on it, and sell all this land here for housing and lots to people that'll pay as much as $280,000 a lot, along with the waterfront usage, and that interferes with our tribal fishing. We have traditional fishing sites along the bluffs, and we're still using them. We've always used them. And what will happen is that we won't have that excess, and we won't have that enjoyment of fishing every year. From the spring till even now, we're catching fish there. And so we're gonna occupy this place until we come to a complete settlement to where we get it back to the way it's supposed to be. Because when he bought this place apparently was sold to him by Burlington Northern. Before that, it belonged to SP&S, Seattle, Portland, Spokane Railroad Company. And now he wants to put in 33 housing lots here and sell to private ownership people that will come in here. And he says that we'll still be able to fish, but knowing a lot of people, especially rich people, they're not going to stand and sit still for seeing Indian fishermen, traditional fishermen, fishing right out in their own front yard. And they're not going to allow us to come down here and do our exercise and our fishing right. And this is a direct violation of our treaty fishing right, as well as the Winans case. The Winans case is a fishing case where Mr. Winans, in the early 1900s, had gone and purchased land between the fisherman's village and a fishing site up on the bluffs, upriver. And when he purchased that land, he stopped fishermen from going on to their scaffolds and fish, and exercising their fishing right. And so they ended up going to court. And when they went to court, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And when they went to the federal Supreme Court ruled in favor of the fishermen, the Indian people, because of the treaty and the articles that are in the treaty when the treaty was signed with the people, the reserved right. So the Winans case falls on that and gives access to the people to cross any land or any private land to the river where they gather their fish, or where the people go and gather their roots or do their hunting without interruption by the people who purchased the land. They have to allow them to cross that and have access to cross that property to exercise their treaty fishing, hunting, or gathering rights. That is the Winans case. It's a Supreme Court ruling, and it's a set precedence, and it's nationally known. We need people to come down here, but we need support funds for our telephones, but we also need food. And people are bringing wood, but what we'd like to see is that people write to their legislators and write to the governor, write to the attorney general, and write to their representatives, and write to the select committee anyway, and to their state representatives, and ask them why this is being allowed to happen here. I think that people like Henry has gone far enough, because everywhere you look along this Columbia River, even the local people are getting tired of it now. Everywhere they look along the river, the windsurfers are moving in and wanting to take over, and they want to develop. They want to have launching places. And since they've come here, they've made it uncomfortable for a lot of people, because a lot of the windsurfing people that come here have a lot of money, and they've bought land and even paid big money for it, and they've brought the taxes up for the local people, where they haven't a little time keeping up with it, keeping up with their own taxes to match what windsurfers can afford to pay. And that's what's going to happen here. If this land here sells for $250,000 a lot, 33 lots, and how many of them 33 lots are going to go for $280,000, $270,000 to $280,000. Then the rest will be $72,000 lowest up. What are the people that don't have jobs and are barely getting by under Social Security and pensions cross on the other side of the tracks, that have to match these taxes? What are they going to do? They're going to go down. They're going to lose out. That's what's going to happen. And what about our water? What about our environment and our eagles? Our Canadian geese that land here and rest, and our other birds, the swans that land over by the Klickitat River on the other side of this land. All that's in jeopardy because of the development. And this man will sell all these lots and make promises that he can't live up to, because once he sells it, the new owners take over. They'll have a different opinion and different feelings about what they want, because the land will belong to them, and he'll be gone. He'll be somewhere else. He might even be in Hawaii somewhere, enjoying all the money that he's made off this land. And we'll be stuck with the problems. There'll be a fight here among the traditional people, the traditional treaty fishing people, and the landowners, and the new people that come in here. There will be a lot of mixed feelings. There won't be in the economy brought to this. Instead of that, there'll be a problem of taxes and stuff that'll be brought here. That's what I see. Little do people realize that when you jump ahead without realizing what you're jumping into sometimes can be a big mistake. So there's a lot at stake here. Besides that, developing this land here and the people that lie underneath this land here, it's a direct violation to our Freedom of Religions Act of protecting this sacred ground where these people are resting. You know, my people would never go and build and live on top of a cemetery or a place where people are buried, because it's against our unwritten laws for anyone to do that. But yet this man wants to do that, and he feels it's all right, and he wants to go ahead and do it whether we like it or not. And we're going to object to it. We're going to go on with the occupancy, which is in our treaty. We won't give that up. And not only that, but we're going to continue fishing here. Along with that, we're not going to give no ground to anybody. We'll get it back one way or another. And these people that have been here for ages will get to remain resting in peace. That's all I ask.